I'm not trying to butter you up.
For my presentation. I've got my PowerPoint.
Oh, just log into Zoom
Okay.
from your Surface, and then I'll make you a co-host.
It's time now, but I was just. Well, we'd like to welcome everyone today to the Board of Commissioners meeting for the Washington County Commission and on April 20th, 2021. We appreciate those who are in attendance and have several agenda items that are placed before us. But before we get started, we'd like to welcome those who are on Zoom, including, I believe, our invocation.
I don't have him on Zoom.
We will see if Reverend Wilkie comes in the next 22 seconds. Having said that, we do welcome anyone else who might be joining us via Zoom, and I can say that it's been an appropriate medium for helping us to get the voice out over the last year and a half, it seems like, although it's not quite that long, but a lot of people are obviously tuned in that way. We'd also like to, for the record, state that meetings are rebroadcast daily on TDS cable channels 22 and 108 at 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and 5:30 p.m. They are also available on demand at youtube.com community education channel, and appreciate them being here. All the information here was provided to the Spectrum for publication on Friday, April 16th, 2021. We'll begin then by asking Trent if he would give us an invocation, following which we'll have a pledge by David C. Houston, Military Officers Association of America, United States Marine Corps, retired.
Our Father in heaven, as we gather for this meeting, we are grateful for this opportunity to have this meeting, and pray that all agenda items and concerns can be addressed, and that it can be a productive meeting. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Thank you, Trent.
Trent, appreciate it. As David is coming up, we'd like to recognize that he had his picture on the memorial wall today. I mean, not memorial as in you're still here, not that kind of memorial, but to pay homage to those, first of all, focused on the Korean War veterans, but also you and other local military service, both retired. Yeah, at the fair, both retired and active. It was neat.
You may not have known this, but Judy and I went over there. We were over there with Republican Party tent, and so we walked through that, and I didn't even know I was there, but when we looked, it said 2 years of service. And my wife said, well, no. So we actually took a black marker and put 32. Three. They left off a 3, so it was actually 32 years of service.
There's a big difference there.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. And I'm wondering how I got to Lieutenant Colonel in 2 years. I mean, that's accelerated promotion.
That's how good you are.
That's it. Well, yeah, there you go.
Well, the 3 was later changed and filled in to be 8. 82 years.
Yeah, yeah.
That was really good
That's
job.
the way I felt.
Okay.
Okay, if you'd stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your service, all 32 years, and also all the service you continue to give in our community. You do a great job. And
Wonderful, thanks. Say hello to Judy, please. Our consent agenda are items for expediting the consideration of routine matters. If a commissioner requests that items be removed from the consent agenda, those items are placed at the beginning of the regular agenda. Other than requests to remove items, a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda is not debatable.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'd like to go ahead and make the consent agenda motion, and with item A, consideration of auditor-approved claims for payment April 7th, 2021 through April 20th, 2021. B, consideration of regular commission meeting minutes of April 6th, 2021. C, consideration of administrative adjustments of real property. D, consideration of administrative adjustments personal property. E, consideration of applications for property tax abatement. F, consideration of applications for payment plan to settle delinquent property taxes, which are 4. G, consideration of final condensed Utah Retirement System URS contribution rate guide for fiscal year July 1st, 21 to June 30th, 2022. H, consideration of correction to resolution number R-2021-2752, a resolution approving Council of Government COG recommendations. And the final item in our consent agenda is I, acknowledgement of publishing notice of adoption of ordinance number 2021-1174-0 on Saturday, April 10th, 2021. That is my motion on the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to second that motion.
Thank you, Commissioners. A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Well, this is kind of a special moment. We talked about our good friend Dave Houston and changing the number. I don't believe this is 15 years. This is like 45 years, right, that you've served us all here, Paul? We've asked Nicole, our county administrator, to have you come on up, and she's got something to say.
Not very often I get to come to this side, so I thought I would, but Paul, come right on up. I'd like to recognize Paul's crew in the back, almost every one of them, except for some of the Legacy Park crew is here. And that just goes to show, first and foremost, what Paul means to the county and to his crew. I was trying to put some of my thoughts together, and I actually wrote them because there's so much that I could say about Paul, and I don't really want to miss too much. But one of the employees that I reached out to yesterday to give me some thoughts, he's been here for 9 years and has been working under Paul for 9 years. He stated this: most people know a lot about a little, or a little about a lot. Paul is the rare person who knows a lot about a lot. Working with Paul is awesome. He is a great boss and teacher. Paul trusts the input of everyone on the crew and encourages us to expand our skills. He makes working for the county maintenance department a delight. And I'll just follow up with that. So I've had the pleasure of working directly with Paul for the last 5+ years. And the one thing I can say about Paul is he is dependable, knowledgeable, and gets the job done as quickly as possible with a positive attitude. As the county building maintenance manager, he has always maintained a lean crew, yet is responsible for the maintenance on almost 60 county buildings. We would be here for a very long time if I started naming everything that Paul does for the county, so I thought I would just mention a few. At one point, Paul had a general contractor's license and was an adjunct professor for Dixie College, which has given him a wealth of knowledge that has benefited the county immensely. Paul is responsible for all remodel projects, has to mitigate several flood catastrophes in various county buildings at times, and works with me on all new construction projects. When COVID hit, he worked miracles. We had plexiglass installed in high exposed areas within a week. And he found disinfecting spray for all the departments and offices when everything had been taken off of the shelf. He has a can-do attitude and has extensive contacts throughout the county. Anytime I have a new priority, he always says he can get it done and reprioritizes the work to fit in the schedule. Most recently, we added additional responsibility to Paul by asking him to manage the Legacy Park crew and provide maintenance to the shooting sports park, as well as be responsible for the newly created roads beautification crew, which is a new program the commissioners created, partnering with the solid waste district to help clean up the trash along I-15, the state highways, and major corridors. Paul has been a true asset to the county over the last 15 years, and I have certainly appreciated working with him. And the commissioners can follow up on anything that maybe I missed.
Well, I thought you did a great job. I love working with Paul and his crew and what he does. And you said that 60 buildings. People don't appreciate how much he gets done and how much he can get out of his guys. We do run a very lean crew. Just Paul, it's a joy. And he is terrific at trivia. I mean, you can ask him any actor or just throw out any name from, it doesn't matter. He will get it like that. He should have gone on Jeopardy. He probably could have made a lot of money.
So,
And I will add, let me just add that I've had a chance to work with him too, and he is an amazing leader. And that's why, sometimes I feel bad that when we have somebody who is so busy and so good at what they do, that we end up giving them even more responsibilities. It's said that success has many fathers. Don't do your genealogy because it's going to look really funny. You're amazing, Paul, and thank you for those 15 years and what you've done.
Yep.
Truly great. Thank you.
Paul.
Hey, Paul, would you come up here for a picture?
Let me get on it.
I see it over there.
Anytime something in the county is constructed, the second question you have to ask is, well, how are we going to keep it going? How are we going to maintain it? And certainly we found the right person and crew to keep things both old and new going. So we appreciate Paul and his staff and Nicole for presenting so aptly the comments that he deserved. We have a presentation on open and public meetings training, but we have our sheriff with us, and we'd like to know, are you representing the emergency services report? You've already had this training. Would you like to do that so you could take off, or are you staying with us?
I'll do this report.
Okay, great.
Yeah, let's just make a motion to
Interesting as you
amend the
recognized
agenda.
Paul
Okay.
for that.
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda so we are now handling item number 3 versus number 2.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion and a second, all approve?
Aye.
Thank you.
Talk about recognizing Paul and the different things you forgot to mention that, I probably provide about 3/4 of his work, especially with the jail. It's over 20 years old, and the amount of maintenance and time that they put in out there keeping things going with all the plumbing issues and everything else that we deal with, it's become a really good close friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're out there all the time.
And it's a great point, though, because he has one full-time, and then he's able to manage his cruise time in a way that, for the same jail in Davis County, I think they have like 4 full-time people just for the jail, and he's able to.
The way he has his guys that are specialized in certain things that can move around, it really is a benefit, so they do a great job. What's interesting on our search and rescue report, in the last 30 days since the last report, we've had 21 additional call-outs, which brings the total to 45. So we've almost doubled all the calls just in the last 30 days. Total man hours that have been donated in this last period is 445 hours. If you look at the rescued subjects, only 9 of them were in-county residents, and the other 17 were all out-of-county residents. I'm not going to go through each one of them stuff because it is so lengthy, but it involves a lost child that we helped St. George with, a fall victim up on the Guacamole Trail, stranded missing people on ATVs that were up on Kolob. People still don't understand that the weather changes up there very quickly. I tell him, I says, look at Dean's cameras and he'll be able to tell you what the weather's doing up there. But injured hiker in Snow Canyon that was 24 hours on the petrified dunes to assist medical in getting them off. UTV accident up in Bull Valley, it's 56 hours. Injured hikers out hiking in the Joshua Tree. And I don't know if very many people have been over to the Joshua Tree Forest and some of the improvements that BLM has done over there with the new climbing areas and stuff.
Nice.
It's starting to be an extremely busy area, and the amount of people out there recreating is just incredible. Dehydration, we had to go in and assist up in the lower subway of the left fork. Injured base jumper that we assisted Mojave County with down in the Virgin River. That was 62 hours of donated time.
I'm surprised they allow base jumping.
I don't know how it falls within their state law. There are different areas you can, as long as you're not within some of the national parks and other places where it's been specifically prohibited, kind of get away with it. But they actually had to bring in Arizona DPS out of Flagstaff to come in and do what they call a short haul with medical personnel, with the search and rescue members to be able to get them the medical attention and have them transported by ground. But, it was quite a lengthy assist. But definitely, man, just saying thank you to our volunteers and reaching out to them because, boy, we're already starting to abuse them again this year after that record number of calls last year. So couldn't do it without them.
Thank you. Please
Thank you.
extend our appreciation and also to Daryl and his organization.
Yep.
Wonderful. Glad to see you, Sheriff.
It is
Thank you,
good to
Sheriff.
see you, Sheriff. Appreciate you.
Very much.
And Nicole, I'll get it forwarded to you.
All right, so now we get item number 2, our presentation on open and public meetings training.
Everybody's favorite time of year.
It's like Christmas almost.
It-
A wonderful time of the year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cheyenne and I are going to attempt to be able to put my presentation up on the screen.
You should just be able to share your screen now.
Is there some way to turn this little TV on to see it?
Oh, is it not on?
Brian was given 2 hours to make this presentation a little while ago, and he was able to do it in record time.
But some of it may look very familiar. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay. There we go. Okay. So, do you prefer me over there? Do you care? Do you want me here or over there?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Wherever's legal.
What is best for the for the visitors? Would it be best over here?
Oh, that's fine. Okay. Okay, so as you know, being a government body, government entity, our boards, we are subject to the Open and Public Meetings Act, OPMA, and we have training on it every year. So the act is part of sometimes we refer to government in the sunshine. The point of that is that we want to avoid an appearance of a cloak of secrecy, like in this joke, and operate in the sunshine. that the government is transparent and open to the members of the public. So the two main ways that we do that is through the Open and Public Meetings Act and the Government Records Access Management Act. So today we're going to talk about the Open and Public Meetings Act. So in the Open and Public Meetings Act, it is the intent of the legislature that the state, its agencies, and its political subdivisions take their actions openly and conduct their deliberations openly. So anytime we have a matter that is going to come before you in an open meeting, come before you for a decision or for action, then we discuss that and take action in an open meeting. So we look at what is a meeting. A meeting is the convening of a public body, which the Board of Commissioners is a public body. So the convening of a public body for the purpose of discussing, receiving comments from the public about, or acting upon a matter over which the public body has jurisdiction or advisory power. So convening a meeting of the county commission to discuss or take actions on a matter that you have jurisdiction over. Meetings are open unless they are closed. We'll talk briefly in a moment about closing a meeting. So the Open and Public Meetings Act requires that meetings, in order to take action, that you have a quorum. So for you, it's at least two of you for a quorum. That you provide notice at least 24 hours in advance. And for you, where you have an annual set of meetings, actually we provide that regular agenda at the beginning of the year for the entire year, but if there are any special meetings or adjustments, we have to provide notice at least 24 hours in advance. We have to keep minutes and take minutes and post the minutes. And then we can have closed sessions. There are 9 reasons that you can have closed sessions, but for you, the main ones would be if there's an emergency, if you're discussing somebody's character or competency, or if you're discussing litigation strategy or upcoming and imminent litigation. Non-meetings are not covered under public meetings. If you happen to be at the same social event or something of that nature, then that's a non-meeting. You're not discussing shop or taking action on. So the meetings covered by Open and Public Meetings Act, workshops, work meetings, and executive sessions. But it does not include chance meetings, social meetings, or administrative or operational matters. You wear 2 hats, one as the county legislative body and also the county executive body. When you're doing executive or administrative work, that doesn't. Public comment. In a public meeting, public comment is allowed but not required. There are certain times when a public hearing is required, and then you have to allow the public comment. But in a public meeting, you can hear from the public, but you don't have to. If the public gets too disruptive, you can have them removed. You are bound to discuss items on the agenda. If a public brings up an item that's not on the agenda, you can't take any action on that item. Electronic meetings, due to COVID-19 and the pandemic, the regulations and requirements for electronic meetings have been loosened a little bit. As you may recall, 2 weeks ago, we updated our county ordinance to match some of those guidelines on electronic meetings. And luckily we have Zoom and Facebook and some of that technology that allows us to allow the members of the public to be involved. So what if a mistake is made? Then we own it. The best way to cure lapse in transparency is with transparency. So if we happen to make a mistake, then we come back in an open meeting and correct them. Now, then I just want to take a little moment to also remind regarding gifts that it's not appropriate to accept gifts from members of the public that might be perceived as swaying or enticing your action or votes one way or the other. However, you may receive an occasional non-pecuniary gift having a value of $50 or less. And then also just a reminder that to state any conflicts of interest if you or a household member have with any matters that come before. So that's kind of a quick overview. Any questions?
Brian, I have a question. So let's just for a minute assume that I may have a conflict of interest. What should I do as a commissioner if I feel that? Am I still permitted to vote?
So the best practice would be to provide in writing that you have a conflict with a particular agenda item and state that on the record for everyone. And the best practice would be to not vote if you have a financial interest.
Do I have a legal, I'm just getting a legal question.
If you can vote on that, I may have to double check, but I don't believe that you can vote on that.
I'll answer your question just in
Thank you.
case any. The only obligation is to state the conflict of interest
Okay.
publicly, and I still
And then you
choose
can't
to,
so vote.
still choose to participate. I may not get reelected or something, but once it's been openly stated that there is a conflict of interest, we are allowed under Utah statute
Okay, thank
to
you.
vote.
I'll have to, thank you. Any other questions I can get wrong?
No, I didn't try to say.
No, I know. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. The last training I had last Wednesday, after an hour and 10 minutes, we basically revolted. So there were a lot of us there, and it was good training. It was thorough, but it was actually no more informative than what you just did. So compliments to you on that.
Thank you.
Great. Conclude that training. We appreciate that. Ray, we're here now for consideration of purchase agreements, requests rather, and we'll give you this time.
Okay, I don't have too many, so
Okay?
hopefully this will be quick for you.
No
The
worries.
first one I have here is for tourism. This is for field rental sponsorship for the senior softball tournament in a total of $10,000. Next one is for our IT department. This is Centric Infrastructure. And what this is, it's a software license for us to keep our systems and infrastructure up to date and easier to manage. And then the next one is for our roads department. This is for equipment fuel, the dyed diesel fuel, in a total of $23,171.44. And the next one is a blanket purchase order for the sheriff's office. This is for commissary products in a total of $30,000, and this should get us through the next quarter. And again, through getting us through the next quarter is another blanket purchase order for culinary purchases. This is for the kitchen, and that's a total of $20,000. And unless there's any questions, that's all.
I'd just like to point out, part of having Ray here, this was something that we decided, and when Commissioner Cox was the county administrator and I was new at the county commission, is that every commission meeting, even though all of these items are part of our budget, that we bring them forward in a transparent way so that the public could know any expenditure over $10,000 that we'd vote on it in a public meeting, and that's because we care about transparency, Brian. We were taking it to heart.
No, I'm thinking the public works, graders, dump trucks, things like that must be getting lousy diesel fuel mileage.
It's true.
But a good price.
I
At
would
a good
make a
price.
motion that we approve the purchase orders as,
And I will second that motion, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Ray, for presenting that.
thank you.
Yes,
Ray.
thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, well, thank you for that. Cameron, you have a special thing to present to us. It's consideration of ordinance number 2021-1173-0, amending Title 9, Chapter 2A, Section 1 of the Washington County Code regarding the Endangered Species Impact Fee.
So Brian, you can fill in whatever I miss, but our amended HCP, which was renewed at the beginning of this year, had a minor change to the impact fee. We were able to actually have a reduction to the fees collected, which is a good thing. We no longer collect the $250 per acre fee. It's not needed to support our HCP. The 2% of estimated construction cost is still in the impact fee that we do collect, but we're able to drop that $250 per acre fee, and this is just to kind of make that official. Anything I missed in that, Brian?
Nope, perfect. So this ordinance just is to repeal that $250 an acre fee. We'll still have the 0.2% of the total construction value of the permit. That will remain in place and fund the HCP. but we'll
So
repeal
Brian,
that one.
if you could repeat that for the public.
Yeah,
We are now going to drop a fee.
This
Yes.
is actually like another reduction
Yeah, this is-
we're doing in the cost of government. And Cameron, a great deal of that is due to the effectiveness that you've managed our HCP
Yep.
and kept us on track and meeting the requirements of it. And you've done it so well that we've been able to get a 25-year renewal. And without your work and effort, that would have happened.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Cameron.
Yes.
Really appreciate that. Well, Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 2021-1173-0, an ordinance amending Title IX, Chapter 2A, Section 1, the Washington County Code regarding the endangered species impact fee, and that's my motion.
And I will second the motion.
Awesome. Item 5's motion and second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Awesome. Thanks, Cameron. Item 6, consideration of ordinance number 2021-1175-0, an ordinance amending the property tax exemption ordinance Title 8, Chapter 2, Section 2 of the Washington County Code. Brian.
Yeah, so this deals with, the assessor's office asked me to cover this. They couldn't be here. But so this deals with when members of the public are applying for the primary residential exemption on the tax reduction for their home. There was an update in state code from the legislature this year that our code allowed people to apply for that exemption up through August 31st of the current year, but the state code changed and updated that date, so we made this modification to be in line with that. And then there's a second part of this that if anyone applies after May 1st, is what our code currently says, then we are able to charge an administrative fee. The assessor's office feels like it would make sense to adjust that date from May 1st to September 15th, so we don't charge any administrative fee until after September 15th if someone then applies for the current year. So those are the two changes that the assessor's office would be asking for, and this just updates the code to match that.
So we're giving them 3 more months to be late.
Correct.
Yes.
Any other discussion?
Nope.
I would go ahead and make a motion in support of adopting ordinance number 2021-1175-0, an ordinance amending the property tax exemption ordinance Title 8, Chapter 2, Section 2 of the Washington County Code.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item number 7, consideration of resolution number R 2021-2760, approving an interlocal cooperation agreement to provide support for the Ironman events between Washington County and the State of Utah Department of Natural Resources, Division of Parks and Rec.
Hi, Commissioners. I can speak on this one. Kevin Lewis with the Tourism Office. You know me, but so we have an event coming up in just over a week, and it's turned out to be a really incredible event. I just got the numbers and the registration numbers. Over 3,500 athletes, which is the largest registration that we've ever had, and over 125 pros coming. turned into a big event. But, so this agreement is,
Just
with
out of
us.
curiosity, how many usually come to the St. George Marathon or run?
Well, that's gone anywhere from, the peak days it was around 7,000 or so.
Okay.
Yeah. It's tapered off a bit in recent years, but this is just an interlocal agreement that we have with the state parks, because that event runs through Sand Hollow State Park and Snow Canyon State Park. And it's just a cooperative agreement indicating what we'll provide and what they'll provide and how to work that out. They've been great to work with. They're excited to have it, and we're glad that we can have the race showcasing our area like we do. That's what this one's about.
That's great.
Great.
Super.
Kevin is another one of our outstanding department heads, quite honestly. I'm impressed that he was able to find a little time to actually come and answer these questions. He and Brittany are doing a wonderful job. I would like to make a motion in support of Resolution R 2021-2760, a resolution approving an interlocal cooperation agreement to provide support for the Ironman events between Washington County and the State of Utah, Department of Natural Resources, Division of Parks and Recreation. That would be my motion.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, both. A motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. Thanks, Kevin and team. You're getting nervous, or you?
We're a little frantic, but we're okay.
I noticed last week that Sand Hollow is at full pool, or almost, and I think that's been a benefit. We can compliment the Water Conservancy District because they know that's an important event, and they can also keep that reservoir as full as possible till who knows when in summer that it starts to get drawn out of it. But we look forward to a great event, and State Parks has been
I'm a little bit worried about your world event. We might not have any water left in the reservoir.
Yeah, we're a little, end of summer is a whole different game than the start of it, so.
Let us pray for rain.
Very good. Thank you all. Item number 8, consideration of resolution number R 2021-2761, approving the Habitat Conservation Advisory Committee Land Acquisition Subcommittee.
Okay, so me again. Another change with our amended HCP is that the county committed to form a new subcommittee under the HCAC to help guide and counsel our workings with real estate transactions, with in particular land acquisition within the reserve. And we think that the team that we've put together, we've got 7 different members from multiple agencies, people within the profession of real estate to help us guide us and be more strategic and prioritize which portions of land we can buy first. I don't have that list in front of me. Do you need to read the names out, Brian, or do you guys?
I can read them out.
Okay.
We have an unnamed representative from the BLM at the time.
It'll likely be Stephanie Trujillo, but it may be somebody else. But she's their real estate specialist.
Jessica Kinross, Chris Kelleher from UDWR, both of those. Elaine York from the Nature Conservancy. Greg MacArthur from the City of St. George. And Zach Renstrom from the Water Conservancy District.
Then also Yvette Converse.
Oh, yeah, Yvette Converse, and she's the state director for United States Fish and Wildlife. Super list.
It's a good list. That's a good group.
Yeah, we're excited to get this group together because we've still got a few important in-holdings that we're working towards acquiring, and I think with their help and putting everybody in the same room, we'll get there a little bit quicker.
Wonderful. Thank you, Cameron.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt Resolution R-2021-2761, a resolution approving the Habitat Conservation Advisory Committee Land Acquisition Subcommittee, and the names that we have read.
I will second the motion.
Motion and a second on that item. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thanks, Cameron. Great. Item number 9, consideration of resolution number R 2021-2762, a resolution approving amendments to the interlocal cooperation agreements between Washington County and other public agencies to provide support to Washington County in hosting the Ironman events.
Well, Cameron and I just doing a little dance here on the podium, but this is, so the interlocal agreements that we signed with St. George City, the Utah State Sports Commission, Ivins City, and Santa Clara City were signed prior to 2020 when we had a 5-year agreement. And with the COVID cancellations, we pushed that agreement 1 year forward. And so what we did is just created an amendment to the interlocal agreements that we had with those communities and organizations to adjust the dates for that interlocal agreement. So that's what this is. It's just an amendment to do that.
That worked out really well. The only thing you could have done better maybe was to predict this COVID thing before that happened. Yeah. But Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion, or no other comment from other commissioners, in support of resolution R 2021-2762, a resolution approving amendments to the interlocal cooperation agreements between Washington County and other public agencies to provide support to Washington County in hosting the Ironman events.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Super.
Thanks.
We've had a lot going on. We'd love to hear about the fair. How about Commissioner Iverson on your commissioner's report?
Well, the fair just finished up. This obviously was a kind of a historic year in the fact that we've changed the fair date into April. And even with a little bit of a kind of coolness in the air, it wasn't as beautiful as it is today, but we just had record attendance. I mean, we didn't charge for parking, but we did take kind of a gate fee, and the Saturday gate fee turned out to be as much as we make in a normal fair, and that's something that's shared with the Rotary Club and also helps pay for some of those events. You know, clearly we were victims of our own success as people just came out to support the fair, and it was just jam-packed. Our boxing sold out, our demolition derby sold out, even I believe that the MMA fight sold out, almost everything. We had a beautiful ceremony for the veterans. I thought that was great. And so, you know, fairs have been in transition around the country as communities and counties have tried to find the place that they have. And really, I think that we chose wisely, and I just can't congratulate our staff enough on the hard work that they took. You have to remember, we had 3 concerts in the large arena. They flipped the arena overnight so that they could have the demolition derby. Same thing, we had boxing on Friday night. They took it down. I mean, the boxing was there until almost midnight. They took it down so that they had to have MMA fights the next day. I mean, we had tremendous participation from our youth on a chicken show and rabbit show, and we had a great petting zoo. So I just, I think it was great. And we're going to have to figure out our parking on Saturday night. The biggest thing is how to get people out. But I want everybody listening to know that we will deal with that, and it'll be even more pleasant and better next year. But it was a fantastic fair this year. So
I would like to recognize Commissioner Iverson's hard work, countless hours of making sure that this was done correctly and successfully. And I know I was one of them that was really worried that changing that date could have unintended and adverse consequences, but let me tell you, he got it right, and so thank you. And if I have any remaining time, I would yield it to the fire chief of our Hurricane Valley District. He doesn't have to, but if there's anything that he wants to communicate to the public that would see this, I think this is an exceptionally dry year, and maybe he's got something he'd like to say.
Like to say, but I hate to turn my bosses down, so I'll come try to say something that's intelligent. Maybe just as a recap for last year to give you an idea, as Emergency Services talks about the calls that they have. In 2020, the Hurricane Valley Fire District responded to 4,036 calls for service. do about 71% of those were EMS calls. The other ones were fire-related or other calls. So we respond to a structure or threatening structure fire call from a grass or wildland fire about one every other day. We respond to about 9 medical calls every day. So it's a fairly busy time. One thing we used to talk about is the oncoming of the fire season for Washington County. I just like to adjust those dates as we adjusted the Ironman dates. We now go from January 1st to December 31st is our fire season. If we were to pull up our calls for service, you would see that we've responded multiple times, not just in our district, but throughout the county on wildland calls. And so we just ask the public to be very careful. There is an open burn window, but please be careful with that burn window. As we saw with the fair, unfortunately, the fireworks vendor came and put up fireworks each night. Had to launch one night out of all the nights because of wind and other hazards. And we're in a county that's very dry and very, very brittle. The lack of water and the lack of rain would ask people just to be cautious. Recreating outdoors, make sure that you've got the proper equipment on your vehicles or on your weapons or other things you're using. If you feel like you have to have a campfire, make sure you're in an area that a campfire is allowed and that you've got dry earth around or bare earth around it, so that those dry conditions turn into something more hazardous. The other thing we're looking at that we haven't in past years is as you travel the county, you can start in Mojave County, Arizona, coming up I-15, you see a small city at an exit in that gorge now. Those small cities are popping out and throughout the county, areas that don't have access, they don't have water, and now we don't only have the challenge of putting out grass fires, we have the challenge of protecting a structure in an environment that they're normally not in. If I could represent the fire chiefs from throughout the county, just please be careful if you feel you have to do something that could spark a fire. Any other questions from the commission? I'll go back to my corner where I belong.
Thank you for being
Chief.
here. Appreciate you.
Yep, you're always here faithfully. We appreciate that. Two things about the fair. I took a video of Victor, who had the white money suit on, the jumpsuit, and the kids. He allowed himself to be caught, but he put up a valiant fight at first. But I have that video in case I ever need it for, you know, any sort of legal action.
What I appreciated is the little kids had so much cash in their hands, and the wind was kind of blowing, and dollars would start to blow off, and they weren't paying attention to like the money as it blew away.
The people standing around me were saying, well, the smart kid will be the one who just stands downwind and collects everything that's coming, not even trying to chase you.
A lot of fun.
The other funny thing is that maybe to Susie's chagrin, and Dean, you should know this, Victor and I saw that there were leftover cookies and nuts and things still in their packages and decided that we'd throw those into the crowd. Well, when we got there, the Queens and some of the other, those helping from student organizations, our own county youth organization, and one of them had one of those
T-shirt launchers.
And he said, let's just put the cookie bag in that and see how far we can launch it up into the stands. And we kind of, you know, in the excitement of the fair in the moment, didn't consider physics, a lot of other things, including the quality of the bag. And I'm glad that Brian's not listening right now, because what happened was the bag launched and went about 30 feet. And we thought, well, this is going to be great. You know, we can get it a lot further than throwing it. And then at the end, at the apex of its height, it blew open and cookies went everywhere. And we were thinking, wow, that didn't quite turn out.
As people were staring upwards.
Cookies from heaven. Anyway, so it was a lot of fun, and we enjoyed the interaction with the crowd. You can tell that they were having a good time. So, well, basically, that is the end of our commissioner's report. Unless there's anything else, we'll call this meeting adjourned.